Here in Sydney, and in the summertime, the cruise ships are lined up to get in. For over 50 years, the best curlers have gathered here. We've witnessed the impeccable. We've witnessed the incredible.
They're working on it frantically. There's the contact. There's the roll. She's made it.
What a shot for the win.
The excitement and the heartbreak. Champions crowned and legends born. They all start from the same place, with the same record, with the same dream to win this title. The Scotties begins. On a wet and windy Saturday afternoon, it's good to be inside Center 200 for the start of this year's Scotties, but we had to play one game before today. That was last night, the wild card, the play-in game with Carrie Anderson out of Gimli, Manitoba, against Casey Scheidegger from Lethbridge, tied at 6, playing 10, and Scheidegger will draw the 4-foot. Had yet to beat Anderson this year. Her first win comes in the play-in game, and so now she fills out the field of 16. 16 teams divided into 2 groups of 8. Pool A headed by the hottest team in the world right now. Number 1 seed Rachel Homan, the defending champion. Jennifer Jones looking for a record 7th national championship, heads Pool B. And before we start, of course, we have to have that all-important team photo, that memento that you can take home, saying that you were part of the Scotties here in Sydney. And on this, a Saturday, we do say hello, Canada, and welcome to this opening draw of the 2019 Scotties. Cheryl Russell alongside. So our feature game, North against the South, Northern Ontario against Ontario. Rachel Homan still being asked, what about those Olympics? And she says, you know what? It's done. I just had a bad week.
Oh, I think they get asked all the time, what's the difference from this year compared to last year? And really nothing. They had that one bad event, and it happened to be the Olympics where they weren't at their best. But this is where I think you're seeing the resilience and the mental strength this team has. They've reframed it, they've refocused, they've moved on, and is showing in the results this year.
You know, we often talk about life getting in the way of whatever you happen to do, and life gets in the way of curling. Imagine how good Krista McCarville could be. She's still good, but how much better she could be if she played all the time.
Well said, Vic. 4 events this year, that's all they could scrape together. 22 games, one of the best deliveries you'll ever see for a curler that doesn't curl. It's not enough reps to play guess who here in this first game. They're going to have to wrap it up in a real big hurry to have a chance.
So when we come back, this is the way we're going to get it going. It is Northern Ontario against Ontario. And as we go to break, the Arkells, keep your eye on the prize.
The 2019 Scotties Tournament of Hearts is brought to you by Scotties, Sponge Towels, Purex, and Cashmere. Proud sponsors of the Scotties Tournament of Hearts for over 35 years.
So it is Northern Ontario against Ontario in this opening draw. All 4 games from the A pool. Time to meet the teams now, brought to you by Home Hardware. Here's how. Team Northern Ontario out of the Fort William Curling Club in Thunder Bay, skipped by Krista McCarville and backed up by Sarah Potts, Jen Gates, and Kendra Lilly. The Ontario champions out of the Ottawa Curling Club, Rachel Holman, making or looking for a 4th Canadian championship with Lisa Weigel, Joanne Courtney, and Emma Miskew. Shot of the button has been won by Ontario, so Rachel Holman will have the last rock, playing the Yellowstones. Krista McCarville in a 7th appearance at the Scotties, a former runner-up back in 2016 when she lost to Alberta. And Chelsea Carey will throw the red stones, and settling in to get us underway on this, the opening draw, Saturday afternoon in Sydney. This is Sarah Potts.
Straight in, top 4. Sorry, you told me to look. Easy, have a look. Not curling time. Paige trying.
So we got a look at this ice yesterday. Well, albeit we are on the sheet next door on sheet C. But what did you take away from that last night, Rush?
Well, it was interesting because the first 2 ends, both teams missed any heavier weights, board weight and up wide. But then later in the game, the draws were crashing on the guard. So I think it's just adjusting to the fact that these rocks aren't quite as swingy as some of the ones they play with. They weren't biting quite as much, but Dave Merklinger's got enough curl in there that if you throw the appropriate weight, it'll come back and curl. So it's really what I would call release-sensitive ice. So both these teams are pretty good at that, but Rachel, if anything, maybe float that out a little bit, Cheryl. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Let's take a look at the keys to the game now, and we will start with Northern Ontario.
Well, we talked about it in the opening, just not enough games. So run them up and down. Just do what's happening right now. Throw it in the rings. Hopefully the other team cooperates, which they did. And bank a couple ends till you get that feel underneath it. These guys can make shots, but you don't want to go at it right away. And then Kendra up to the task. And all I'm saying there is I've seen Kendra win games by herself. She's a really, really good shot maker, but she's up against the 3-time champion Emma Miskew. She's going to have to play well.
Kendra Lilly at the 3rd stones. Now the keys for Ontario.
Well, you talk about a turnkey team, and this has to be the transformation with this Rachel Holman team. They used to be really uncomfortable if they didn't have control of a game, and what I've seen this year is they're comfortable. It doesn't matter to them anymore, and rock their world. Marcel Rock has brought work ethic to this team. They already had a lot of it, but he said, look, you're going to improve on the soft game, you're going to work on your draw weight, and they've listened, and it's been evident this year.
Keys to the game are brought to you by Scotties, Canada's #1 tissue.
It's interesting with Holman over the years, all the different coaches they've had, and Adam Kingsbury just did a brilliant job, in my opinion, with getting them ready mentally. They play so well. That's that other piece of the puzzle, isn't it, at the high end of the spectrum for these top athletes. But they've kind of gone back and said, well, what were we missing? And in my humble opinion, once in a while, not all the time, obviously, they had a great year. We keep saying disastrous last year, but they did win the Canadian trials and go to the Olympics.
Pretty
and
amazing.
A bunch of bonspiels along the way. So, but I think they were a little bit one-dimensional in some games where they just couldn't pick up that draw weight. This guy, Marcel, on the great Randy Furby team, that's all they did. Finesse shot after finesse shot after finesse shot. That's how they win, and that's how he's helping them a lot.
Yeah, the Fab Four, the Furby Four, of course, as well as 3 world championships. We're saying that he teaches culinary arts, and his school has been understanding, which he appreciates. And then on the other side, the gentleman that he's played several times, of course, Rick Lang, who has stepped away from his position as the men's coach for Curling Canada, and now is coaching Krista McCarville. You know, you have those, goes back, that first Canadian championship was Bill Tetley back in the day, and then of course with the 2 with Al Hackner and a couple of world championships. So 2 very experienced coaches handling these 2 teams.
No kidding. You see the broom, they gave about 1.5 inches of ice here, and they're not even looking at it. The hits do not do much.
I think you talk about with Rachel's team, they have 2 releases. They've got kind of a pop release, and they've also got a straight through release. You'll hear them talk about it, and I think you'll see them go to that straight through release, which doesn't have as much pop. They're the one team that works a lot on releases. They can manage them and control them for different ice surfaces and rotation. They'll down their rotation, the amount of spin the rock has going down the sheet. They'll change that based on the ice surfaces. If it's straighter, they'll have less rotation.
Kendra Lilly throwing the third stones and will flash here. And this Northern Ontario team has had to make an adjustment too, with Ashley Sipola expecting. And so that means Jen Gates has come in after going west and spending time with Kelsey Rock. As we say hello and welcome back. Nice to see you, Kathy Gauthier. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't see you.
I was afraid for a moment. You know, it was right around the same time that Jen Gates was deciding to move back to Sudbury that Krista McCarville and her team decided that they wanted a 5th player this year, as several members on the team wanted to expand their families. As it turned out, she went from 5th to 4th very quickly when Ashley did get pregnant, and the timing just didn't work with the Scotties. But you've talked a little bit about how they haven't played much together. Well, for Jen Gates, their first spiel was in Eveleth, Minnesota. It was a spiel that they won, but since that time, they've only had 2 training weekends. So it's not only that they don't play a lot as a team, this new addition has not played a lot with Krista either.
I think one of the best, benefits of having Jen now is that actually Kendra has somebody there to throw with, because it used to be Kendra would be on her own and she would throw by herself, and now she's got Jen in Sudbury and she gets somebody to throw rocks with and see releases. And they're pretty close. They've known each other for years.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Okay, good throw.
Well, they won Northern Ontario Junior titles together. Lily won 4 of them, and Gates won 3.
Sorry. It's okay.
But, that little flash now has set it up for Ontario. Got them well spread out. Emma Miscue.
It's interesting because you'll have some teams that are in this 2-pool format for the first time, and Rachel Holman's one of them, because last year was the first year, so they did not play in this. Krista McCarville wasn't in it last year. They haven't played in it. And Krista talked about how to look ahead at this new format and breaking it into 3 events. So it's your pool, getting through that with the least amount of wins you can do, then getting into the championship pool, and then getting into playoffs. And it's kind of otherwise the week looks daunting and long, and you can kind of just break it into 3 different events.
Try to roll.
Surprised, Cheryl, this is the second try here. They aren't going for the top rock and trying to roll closer to the back one.
Yeah, maybe.
No matter what you do here, you give Rachel a wide open hit. Unless you can roll it back 12 buried.
I'm still thinking about the daunting week with you two.
Are you breaking us into chunks?
Yeah.
Segments.
Stay close, Sarah. Stay close.
Here she is, Krista McCarville, 7th appearance.
No.
I said, brought up, in fact, Russell, we were chatting about, she just hangs it on the edge.
8-7.
So it'll
A little more than
be an interesting shot now for Rachel Holman.
What was she, like 15?
Look, she says,
Yeah, I got an 8-8.
I think I could compete with the very best if I wanted to play the kind of schedule a Rachel Holman does, or a Chelsea Carey does, or a Jen Jones. But we've never looked at it that way. For us, it's always been the number one goal has been to get to the Scotties. So you play enough to have yourself prepared for the Northern Ontario playdowns, and that's how she's approached it, and here she is. Points has never been what's been important to her.
No, and she even does as well, Vic, talk about the fact that they go into events excited to play because they're not playing weekend after weekend after weekend, and she likes that, and that's the choice they've made.
Looks there now.
This is what you don't want to give Rachel Holman, is an opportunity to get that feel early. By rolling out with Krista's shot, this gives Rachel a chance to feel draw weight out there.
I don't think I can.
Yep. Go back here. Yep. Keep going. Good.
And she'll draw the back edge of the 8.
Sweet. Sorry. You can roll big. It's all there. I'd have to.
We're sweeping them really conservative. Like, I can't sweep it through.
I thought I threw close to like top 12 slides, so I wanted to make sure it was there.
Yeah,
Really carried.
I love it to throw rate.
Okay.
More weight.
Just a little bit in, like here is probably good.
Now no choice. Try to roll it right across to the back of the 12-foot.
Okay, a little more weight. Try the big roll.
You'd normally try to
big
get the
roll,
top
all
rock
right.
and work your way in.
Give her a new spot, eh?
Yeah, a different spot even.
A little late
So
now,
like
though.
8.5-ish.
Okay.
Job one just to make contact. If you get the roll, Cheryl, that's the bonus.
Exactly.
no.
Make sure you can make one go away. Two's not the end of the world.
Yep. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Wait.
Has to make the play as it is shot rock.
We're still seeing it pretty straight with hip weights. Everything's been high side rollout. No over curls.
Just that one at Kendra's, which she admitted she really underthrew.
Well, and we wondered if the ice was slanted a bit to the boards.
True.
On sheet C, we were looking at that, so maybe that was part of it.
Final stone, looking for a couple here in the first.
No.
Not a brush yet from Weagle or Courtney. And she does bang it, sit there for a couple. So Ontario takes advantage of that miss from Kendra Lilly.
Purex bathroom tissue is
So it's day one, draw one of this year's Scotties here in Sydney. We are on Cape Breton Island. And our featured game is Ontario. And Rachel Holman out of the Ottawa Curling Club as they play Northern Ontario. And Krista McCarver from the Fort William in Thunder Bay. And that one mistake, a flash by Kendra Lilly, allowed Ontario to split the rings for their deuce. And so here in the second, it'll be Northern Ontario that does have last rock. They have the hammer playing the Redstone. So center line guard up, corner then from Northern Ontario, and around comes Lisa Weigel with her second.
So that one's just,
well, it's nice to see the corner being used. We often see the corner go up and nobody ever uses it. And they've got it longer, which I like on this ice. If they're not going to get as much curl as you're typically getting on arena ice, you leave it a little longer. It gives it a little more time once it gets past the guard to finish.
Whoa, wait.
It's going to be yours, Kendra.
Can't go back house.
Stay with it. Stay close, Kendra. Gotta go if you can.
Kendra.
Gotta go. Keep going.
Hard, Kendra. Go. It's really crazy.
Keep going. Okay, good.
Keep going.
And around goes Sarah Potts, and will sit just 4 shots stone. So as mentioned, 16 teams, 2 pools of 8, and all the games today are from the A pool. Nunavut against Quebec. Quebec for the second year in a row has a junior team representing them, Gabrielle Lavoie. Sarah Wark, Abbotsford against Nova Scotia's Jill Brothers. And this is a couple of teams that you expect to contend for the championship round. Alberta, Chelsea Carey with a new team against Tracy Fleury, who of course used to be playing and representing Northern Ontario, but has now the import and is the Manitoba champion out of East St. Paul. The teams that are idle, of course, are the 8 teams that are in Pool B, and that is headed, of course, by Jennifer Jones and the defending champions, Team Canada.
Sorry. It's right.
So 2 in our game. The only other score comes from Sheet B, where Jill Brothers and her team from the Mayflower in Halifax open with a single against Sarah Wark.
Just saw Joanne Courtney come up very light on her come around. She was trying to play a freeze down to shot stone or shot stone, and came up really light, over curled.
Nice opportunity to get that 2 right back here.
Stay close.
Nice speed in this thing.
Go. We're there. Okay. Fight 8 foot, go. No.
Nice curl there, Cheryl. The first
Did you touch it? No.
first red one went by the guard by almost 2 feet, and they buried it.
Yeah, you're seeing probably close to 4 feet to the wings.
How did you not touch that?
Good shot, Jen. We're not shots though.
I know. Wow, kudos for not touching that rock. I don't know.
It was impressive.
Rock in the inside's okay.
Okay. Straight through.
After they thought she slipped a little bit there, they stopped brushing it, didn't get second shot.
Ooh.
No. Nice side.
One. Oh, we nearly got them both. But we'll leave that shooter now outside and about halfway and covering the 8 foot. Shot rock still under cover, belongs to Northern Ontario.
Pretty good recovery for Joanne.
Broom sliding out.
Yeah, her broom kind of wobbled on her.
This should be a decent path, I think.
Yeah. Whoa, line.
Might have to go a little for weight.
Okay, lines should be fine.
Gotta go a little.
Line's good. Well, no, line's pretty good.
Weight's good, top 8.
Yep, go. Fight the 8 foot. Fight the 8, go hard, line's great.
Lily
hard,
and
hard,
Potts
guys,
on the
hard,
carry.
Gotta go. Hard. Go. Okay, good sweep, guys.
Right down the 4 foot strip, all the way down. Nobody's played that in practice. Everybody's trying to draw the button.
Shot a little lighter.
Less than half, like a third. I thought you were good.
You like here?
Okay.
It's enough room, I think, Cheryl, to get through that port.
I think I heard them say a third.
Should be pretty gradual. Okay.
The only thing we noticed in yesterday's game is you got out a little bit further and it kind of hit a little bit of a, it stopped curling. So see if they're at that point or if that's even on this sheet.
Hard! Hard, Liz! Hard! Whoa!
And a miscue as we play third stone. I know where this one spills now, and it will spill to the back and comes back just a little bit to be second shot. So Northern Ontario sitting the 2 with last draw.
Shoot.
Oh, what an opportunity now.
Same as me, so
Yeah.
we'll just stay with it. But
Like a 10 for me?
yeah, yeah.
10 or
Trying to go around that corner again, are they?
Absolutely.
They are.
Keep it high, sit 3.
I think this is down. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Oh, there you
Okay,
go,
line
right
through
away
again.
out of her hand. They pick up Lily.
We're light.
Go hard, then. Keep going.
Get it tight.
Tight as we can get it.
We're not there.
Okay, yeah. Whoa, I
Leave it.
whoa. I don't know what's there. Okay.
That's the rock she missed the wide open hit with, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So that wasn't close.
Forward. Close. Yeah. You're solid. Wait, smooth. Yep. Yep. Yep.
We Courtney.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
If they can get across this nose a little bit. Oh no, they banged it right on the beat.
Sam.
It was there to get behind cover.
Not a chance, just second end, still guessing on where to put the broom.
Might be a little sticky out here. Well, she just shot here.
There's a lot to roll behind there. They can roll short, you've got those 3 guards. Even if you rolled long, you'd be behind the yellow.
You did. Send that little up.
Yep. Yes.
Yep. Yes! Hard!
Gates and Potts with a big carry here, trying to get it by the guard. Oh, they do. Now they've hit it thin. Will it sit down for them? And it'll slide out the back.
That was almost up, eh? Yeah. I thought it was a little up. It wasn't down.
It's definitely curling more than last night. Well, and you know, the problem that happens the very first game of a Scotties is you went out in practice, you had your 15 minutes on Friday morning and it's straighter, and you kind of get that in your head. You watched the game last night, which most teams would have, just to get a sense on the ice. And then you get that in your mind, but it's different today.
Okay.
And then
Should
it's
be
who
close.
adapts faster.
Maybe max for your release, but
Very common, isn't it, an event like this? It was, in this case, they had Tech,
I don't mind
David
trying to hit,
Merklinger. It's his first game, too, so then he makes those adjustments.
No, I think this is probably easier.
He loves the swing, so it wouldn't surprise me to see a lot more curl.
So I think the wing.
Well, her second, Jen's second one was like pretty close to the same line as yours. Like you were.
I'm saying Jen's too. The middle is slower than it was.
Yeah,
over there.
okay.
I'm not talking about mine. I underthrew mine all day.
Oh no, I didn't know.
Just like
Because Jen's first one was like edge of 4, and then her
Yeah.
second was almost edge of 8. Yours was almost edge of 8.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out.
Probably.
They're waiting also for the
Yeah.
David Merklinger or somebody from the ice crew to come and tighten up the handle. And there's David Merklinger. He and his crew of some 18 took over the ice after a Saturday night's game. Cape Breton Screaming Eagles are the team from here in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. They've headed out now. They're on a 6-game road trip over the course of the next 9 days. They've already qualified for the playoffs. So somebody has to get the wrench.
Such a good learning opportunity for ice techs that are nearby. Ice makers from different clubs get to come in. They talk about it often, the stuff that they learn and the tips they pick up, being able to work in an event like this.
Whatever you think, Rach. I thought that extra release, I think we should be able to
This
carry
actually
that.
We're back with you at 6:30 Eastern Time for Draw 2, and we'll get a look at the defending champion, Jennifer Jones, as she plays Robin Silvernagle in a first Scotties appearance for her out of Saskatchewan. 6:30 Eastern Time will feature Pool B. Still waiting, and now I guess the
I don't know.
you didn't have the right socket, did you? I know this story here. Up, down the basement, upstairs. Oh, wrong one. Why didn't I just bring them all up? Now I go downstairs. Will this be the one? Oh, it looks like he's got a good grip on it now. Disconcerting at all when this happens if you're Rachel Holman, Cheryl?
Well, a little bit. The ice sits a bit. You saw Joanne Courtney kind of running her broom up and down the slide path. You don't like the paths to sit for very long. And it throws you out of your rhythm. This team, though, has been through, that's the experience they have. They've been through this in various degrees over the years. They'll know how to deal with it.
Oh, look at that. It's an Allen key, too. I didn't realize that. I thought there was more of a wrench, but it's an Allen key. So,
fascinating.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you put together enough furniture.
IKEA?
You never know.
They could have thrown the other rock and given the ice maker a little more time.
Across the center line. Nice, keep it there.
I think so.
Yeah, I like that.
They talked about this path being just a little bit slower. Kristen McCarville's team saying coming across the slide path, it hasn't been played on as much, and it's faster going to the wings.
Yeah, the Northern Ontario team missed the paint twice light in this area.
Mine's good.
Well, are you ready to go here?
I am.
Okay, let's go. First update is British Columbia against Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia and Brothers scored one in the first. This is Sarah Work, and former BC junior out of Abbotsford.
Well, for Nova Scotia, got into some trouble early with a hogline violation by their lead and a flash by their second. No double opportunities, but unfortunately for Sarah Work, rolled out on her first one. Otherwise, this could be a draw for three, but needs to get some paint for the two.
Hard, Jen. Hard.
And
wow. From 3 to 1.
One red. Sorry. 15-8 I got.
I didn't think it was that light.
So there
Sorry,
too,
you guys.
interestingly enough,
Yeah,
that center,
look at it.
that 4-foot area catching them as well.
Yeah, Rachel
That does
figured it
seem
out
kinda
here.
tough to
Even
kind
after that
yeah,
delay.
it has to be pretty perfect there.
Rachel's been on this ice a few times, right? Like, that's the difference, isn't it? A lot of the newer teams, you just can't believe it's 15 seconds in the slide path to get to the button. All of a sudden, it's 13 and a half. You know,
So
you're
you
going to
were
throw another
here
8, 10,
and
12
draw the
feet.
button?
You just, the brain
Probably
won't let you.
right? Maybe a little
more, yeah.
I forget who it was I was reading about one of the teams, and
Even a little bit more.
that was what the skip said.
4 foot's good.
And the brushing, the front end. It was rock management and knowing where to go
Center
with it.
path.
And if you come from a club setting
And the wing.
where you almost have to throw it overhand,
So this is
to
a
this
little bit
ice.
wider.
Yes,
that's hard to adjust.
very hard.
You think like 410? Maybe 5?
At least.
Yeah.
And it's even hard to explain. The pebble's so much harder. The water's so pure. They have to run the surface a lot colder because of the heat, the air temperature. You slide out your first slide, you put your fingers down to stop yourself, and you'll hurt your fingers. It's so just missing that path by an inch or two. We noticed it last night. Makes a world of difference.
Sarah's.
Don't want
Go, Sarah's, if you can.
Got to bury it. You got the weight.
to go. Yep, if you can.
Wow.
No. Okay, nice shot.
Really good weight.
Slid nicer out
Yeah.
there, eh?
Slid really nice.
Well, this was one of the big off-season moves, of course, with Tracy Fleury going from Sudbury to take over Manitoba. And here she is in the second after the blank in the first, playing Alberta.
Well, with some struggles across the sheets on draw weight, Tracy made a lovely come around through a port on her first one, and Chelsea Carey not able to follow her. So this is the same shot again. This time it was a chance for two.
Good. There we go.
And snuggles up, and there's your deuce. 2-0 Manitoba. Fleury.
A little close for comfort. Yeah. We swept your other one a little bit. Will you right back to it?
Northern Ontario looking at a point here that they were going to be drawing for 3, and now they could be forced.
Less extension. Line's good. 6, 7. T-line. How's line? Line's good. Her light. Keep looking up. 6, 7. Wait on 7. Go bomb. Weight's really close. Can't help on this line. Clean. Tapping. Clean. Yep. Tapping. Tapping. Whoa. Back. Left behind. Yep.
Going down to it. Very nice tapping indeed. And pushing it back to sit for the shot rock.
It's just 2 impressive draws by Rachel, because you know the first one, it was a lot different throw on the first one, a lot more weight compared to that second one. That's a fast track.
Now, I don't know if you were able to listen to hear it at home.
Yeah.
But this is a team, obviously, that plays together. We talk about the communication of the front end. Something, I'll call it, something is simple, but it's not. When Rachel was throwing it, one of them, I think it was Joanne, said, nice extension. I mean, it's that. It's the release point. It's they're micromanaging everything.
Yeah, I think, you know, for this team, you look at what they do. They take all 4 of them to make a shot. They don't just leave you on an island and say, you know, good luck, Rachel, make this draw. It's, we need extension here. We know you can do it. So many, they all are involved making every shot.
Needs to curl up, though. Here we go. And very nice. Just enough. Tap it back for the single. But you're right. She had visions of more than that. Krista McCarville. Ontario against Northern Ontario. That is our feature to begin this year's Scotties here in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Forced to take their single, we go to the third now. 2-1 Ontario leading, and it is Rachel Holman out of the Ottawa Curling Club. That once again does have last rock. She has the hammer playing the Yellowstone.
How much? Control. Should curl these. Yeah. Stick around. Okay.
I like the shot that Rachel called. They went to the wing. You're seeing that more early in the game because people they don't want to get into it around that center. And even when you're up, when you have control, they're up 1 point with hammer.
Yeah, McCarville's got to come to her, right? Like, you've got control of this game.
Okay.
Doesn't quite get it underneath.
Control. Okay.
Almost 10.5.
Whoa.
Little down.
Yes.
Hard.
Yes, hard. All the way. You got to go really hard. Really hard. Got to go. Got to go. Got to go.
Boy.
That's where Kendra. I was a little further over where she
10-2,
flashed.
I felt like it was kind of a softy release almost. But
What was that?
Just straight through.
Yeah.
Easy peel.
I think you can get caught up with the way the Holman team throws it too. They've got that little set, that little in out most of the time. Tons of rotation. It just doesn't react like yours might if you throw a bit of a softer rotation.
Well, and they don't play each other, this team.
Right,
So I think,
right.
you know, if it was Chelsea Carey playing Rachel Holman, then there's the difference. She's
Yes.
played against them so many times.
Halfway tight.
These teams haven't even played this year.
I've asked you this before, I know, but what are you taking away from someone else's release? Because how much attention are you paying to the opposition?
Well, a lot, you know, if you're the skip, because sometimes it's the only read you get down a spot in the
Get it
ice. So
halfway
you are
again.
looking to see how they threw it,
Got it.
you know, what kind of rotation
Okay,
they had on
got
it, because then at least it gives you some information for your own team. But you have to be careful because you might have a lefty throwing and they're opposites and it'll curl a little more, or you play against a Rachel Holman and you can't read off their releases as well. So it's a bit of information and it helps, but you have to filter it too.
Because I remember when Binghu Wang burst onto the scene, you weren't watching her at all because she was throwing it at sheet A and it came back to sheet B.
Yeah, that's a problem.
There are teams that you just say, okay, don't even look at what they're doing.
No, and that's very true. That was one of them. I would try not to watch.
Excuse me, coming through. Move over. Excuse me. No, Vic's right though, but you that's 80 pieces of information that you can't overlook either. You whether it's a different release or not, you have to see what that rock's doing. You might not watch the first 6 feet, maybe it's 10 feet. Wait till it starts to curl, but we'll watch the ice selection for both teams, and there'll be a dramatic difference on hits.
Yep, Sarah a little bit. Okay, that's good.
Good. Nice, Henry. Easy peel.
It's so
Try this way. Sure.
reminiscent of the golf industry, where if you learned to play on a wide open long golf course, you ended up being a bomber and hitting it hard and just going looking for it later. Or you're playing on a very tight short course, you've got a different skill set. It's the same here. Rachel plays a lot of games on very swingy ice, so they tend to pop it. It might not work in some situations this week.
Kendra Lilly.
Before they textured rocks, long ways back, all the Europeans threw a soft release because they got all the rocks we didn't want. They got all the worn out rocks. And when they're starting up their clubs, and it was nothing to have like 8 inches of curl all the way down. So you learn to make it curl.
Good weight. Nice weight, Kendra. For sure.
To my mind, that's an advantage too, Cheryl. If you
I was gonna say we could try to go.
and it only comes from experience and playing a lot, because then Am I right to say you can adjust your release,
Sorry?
your
Learning those
throw
passes, great.
to the ice conditions?
You can't, because when I retired in 2014, we were playing pretty much solely on arena ice. But before that, we were bouncing back and forth from arena to club. And at the club, you didn't get 6 feet of curl. You got 2. So then you'd soften your release for that instance, for that event. But then you'd bounce the next weekend to an arena with 6 feet of curl.
Yep.
Now you have to say, okay, I got to throw a lot more rotation and a little pop on it. So you'd practice both of those. I remember getting ready for the trials, for the Olympic trials, thinking, we know we're going to get 6 to 8 feet of curl, and we threw rotation after rotation.
Smart.
We had our ice guy groom the ice, almost dished, so that we had to learn how to pop it and throw a bunch of rotation. They don't play on as many clubs anymore. The tour teams don't bounce back and forth as much as they used to. But they still have to. I think Homan's probably one of the best, where they can go out and reduce rotation on cue.
No.
Kathy, a 1-1 tie, British Columbia and Nova Scotia. BC sitting the 2, so that's what's facing Jill Brothers out of the Mayflower and Halifax.
Well, she faced 2 on her first one, Vic, but they were grouped together, and Jill was trying to play the double but jammed. And that allowed Sarah Wark to hit and roll to spread those 2 stones out.
No.
So this is the force looking for the
Really
nose
got a
hit.
curl.
Making a 4th appearance.
Great, Jill. Nice throw.
And she'll sit it right there.
9-5. Oh, yeah.
Nova Scotia has won the Scotties, the Canadian Women's Championship, 4 times. The last was 2001 by Colleen Jones. And then she rattled off 3 straight, but as Team Canada.
Right.
Clean.
Like 9.5. Okay.
And the team from Iqaluit, the Iqaluit Curling Club, Nunavut, skipped by Ottawa's Jennifer Blaney, picks up a couple to lead Quebec.
Okay, like 9.5. A little tight. That's how I wanted to slide. I want to slide wide around it. Came up 2 inches?
Yeah, I think so. I thought we were hitting maybe half at one point, or no? Not quite half. Like a little more, yeah. 9.5.
Whoa, Sarah. No, Sarah. No. Jen, if anything.
Yep.
Okay, clean, fine.
Okay. 9. Okay.
A little firm.
So up and down the
I
sheet we go
thought it was close.
here in this 3rd.
Thank you. Oh. Feel. Yeah.
Really?
Perfect.
There's a great example right there. Krista had about 4 inches of ice outside the
I was thinking like
left side of the rock. Hit it dead on.
It's like
Rachel's trying to hit half of it. Look where the broom is. This has to fall 4 inches to make this hit and roll out. It's just a different set of releases.
Clean. Yep.
Final stone looking for the blank. And got it. So we'll go to 4. Ontario leads at 2-1. Coming into this outstanding season with more than $160,000 won, and look at that record as she is the #1 seed this year here in Sydney. Of course, capped that 17 win with a world title, as well as we are at the Centre 200 here in Sydney. Opened in 1987 for the Canada Winter Games, of which Rachel Holman is a Canada Winter Games gold medalist herself. And the Canada Winter Games are underway now in Red Deer. You'll see coverage on TSN. Wish everyone in Red Deer all the very best. We go to the fourth, 2-1. Ontario leads it once again. Holman out of Ottawa does have last round. She has the hammer playing the Yellowstones.
Easy, easy, easy.
Boy, that took its time.
Go, 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 go.
All right, keep going. Go, go, go. Keep going.
Oh, and Northern Ontario getting caught on draw weight. They tried to throw another center guard. Kind of all-out offense and hogged it. Didn't make it over the hog line.
Oh.
Now they're chasing.
Bumper.
Yeah. Okay.
Control.
Yeah, so far they look a little rusty, which is what you expect with 22 games before their provincials.
And you know, for their in their defense, if they drop this game, this is one of the games that you'd kind of go, okay, it's the first game, it could go either way, and it's the #1 team.
Solid bug.
Whoa. Yes. Yes.
Well, it would be a first ever win for Nunavut as we now in the second year of the pool play. But it's a chance now for Quebec to get a couple, Kath?
Well, it is. For Gabrielle Lavoie, she's got an opportunity for a wide-open deuce. This game has not had any guards in play at all. Both teams playing in the paint, but Nunavut making a lot of shots as well, Vic.
And that is the two for Quebec. As mentioned, this is a junior team as well. Gabrielle Lavoie, who advanced by beating Emilia Gagne, last year's representative, also a junior team. Quebec has won just one Canadian women's title. That was 1975, and it was in Moncton, and it was Lee Tobin.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, geez, you got me there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, very proud. That was smug.
Yeah. But I got some sleep last night and not rehearsing all these. It's nice to see Quebec with the young teams coming up. There's 2 or 3 junior teams knocking on the door.
Jen Gates made a beauty hit and roll. Holman peeled the center guard, and now a chance to cap it for Kendra.
Halfway. Whoa.
Yep, Jen, Jen. Jen, keep going.
Not even quite half.
This is the spot.
Not
They've had the
half.
issues with the
Go
weight.
then. We can't have it too long.
This is the rock she's been light with twice, too.
Okay.
Line's good.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, yep, go, 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 a little more. Whoa, 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 whoa. Good shot. Okay.
Pretty good line, but it's awfully long.
Just curl with the out. Yeah. That's enough. Just peel.
Roll it, roll it.
Hard, hard, hard.
Another update for you, and I know it's game 1, but this is a message game among 2 teams, Kathy. I believe that will be there, probably looking to advance to the championship round. Final Stone, Alberta, and Chelsea Carey.
Well, back-to-back great shots. Chelsea Carey hit and rolled under, but Tracy Fleury ran it back. The strange thing on this is Chelsea Carey is throwing the out-turn. She threw the in-turn on it earlier.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Just surprised she changed turns from what she knew that ran very true on her first.
And that's what Chelsea is saying now is Fewy.
So you want to play like that.
Yeah, Fewy. So it's It's 3-1 there.
Goodness.
Fleury leading. Yeah, day one. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Looking to run this straight back. Got it. Oh, ticks it over and still underneath.
And leaves the center guard.
Well, and this is the problem too. You look around and where's Rachel drawing?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's getting plugged out up front.
That's just bad luck.
Oh.
Like this, you draw to the button.
Yeah, I gave you here on that guard, but they moved it, so.
Yeah, I like there.
Maybe let's go hair less even. Is that what? Those two are hanging of mine, eh?
A bit tighter pass than so same weight. I think the same weight.
Guess like top button is good.
Okay. Same weight you've been throwing.
Yeah.
Be a little bit careful, Hale, not to set up a double through that port.
Yeah, back four. Whoa, if you can. Don't
Line's good, easy.
I don't think Rachel's ever seen a hit she didn't like.
Oh,
So.
Becky.
No.
Coming down.
So look at those
Go,
first.
Back four.
McCarville ran the table, won 7 straight games at the Northern Ontario Scotties.
Yeah. Well, I can't really. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Really slow down. Yeah, or you just bump it to back four. Good throw.
Sorry.
That's good. Like if they would have just gone back.
So went through round robin and then got her direct ride to the final where she beat Jenna Enga 8-7 with a 2 in 10 to win it.
How much weight? 11. Okay. Just bump it through.
Probably has almost half of it.
How's this gonna run?
They didn't want to sweep it anymore. Take it behind the tee, so it just didn't curl up enough.
Okay, drawing it. Come up a little bit. How much weight? Sorry. 11. 11. Okay. It's up to speed here. I think so. Yeah. That's quiet.
11's probably close to a back line.
10.
I heard somebody yell quiet.
Whoa. Whoa. 10. Whoa. Joe. Just Joe. Joe, go. Go.
And Joanne Courtney trying to help it over.
Hi, Joe.
One more time, and look at that. Gets right across the nose. Wonderful throw. And underneath.
That's just perfect.
Really good, Rach. Nice throw. Nice throw, Rach. Great call. Thanks.
That's just the right weight for the right spot. And then you see Joe go on it at the end, trying to get a little finish.
The Ontario Championship, both the men and women were playing in Elmira, Ontario. And she was a winner over Julie Tippin, 6-4 in the final. Julie, we saw, if I remember correctly, at the Road to the Roar.
Yes, the pre-trials in Summerside.
Pre-trials in Summerside.
I think I probably like here.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe a hair more. You think?
Now quickly over to British Columbia, Nova Scotia.
Okay, let's make it.
And it's yellow. Nova Scotia sitting the 2. So this will be the final stone on the way. Abbott Ford's Sarah Wark.
Well, that shot stone at the top of the 4, just thrown by Jill Brothers on her final stone. This is the first end. There's actually been guards in play, and the advantage the entire end has been to Nova Scotia. For Sarah, needs full 4.
Do you need that?
Boy, and they just backed away from this. Carly Sandwith and Jen Russell.
Hard, Carly.
Trying to play down to their own at the back now to outcount the other yellow one.
Oh, girl, that's okay.
Well, good plan B.
Yeah, good. They're going to give up the steal of one, Nova Scotia. British Columbia has won the women's title 9 times. The last 2006, Kelly Scott won in London, Ontario. Krista McCarville coming through. Oh, what a shot. And avoids the jam at the back. Goodness.
Look at that. That looked tricky when out of her hand.
Oh my goodness, that haired.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Look at it, just haired this one.
And then you got to get by the red somehow.
Felt like my eyeballs were in trouble. Both of Kendra.
Such a good rock thrower. The mechanics are just about perfect.
So if she's got the broom in the right spot, then you know she's going to always be close. And those touch shots, I think that's her definite strength.
But I still think this is a
Kind
wider
of easy
line.
tap, draws.
So cold draw. Facing 3. And the first little bit of trouble here for the #1 seed.
Easy early. Reach close.
We did say last night, one thing the brushers have to be aware of, don't jump the stone because it'll just run on you. Have to let it start to curl, let it bite, and then try to carry it.
Keep your broom down. We're there. Easy. Good Nice shot, Rach.
Very nice. Facing 3, draws the top edge of the button for a single. 3-1 Ontario. Expect anything less from Rachel Holman, as experienced as she is, to face that 3 and draw the top of the button. for her single as we welcome you back on this Saturday, the opening day of the Scotties here in Sydney. We go to 5, and it's 3-1 now. Ontario leading Northern Ontario, and Kristen McCarville and her team from the Fort William in Thunder Bay will have last rock. They have the hammer playing the Red Storm.
Well, Team Homan's happy with that one, but Kristen McCarville, their team should be thrilled they forced Rachel to that one, and a tough one. You do that a few times, you're gonna get a miss eventually along the way.
But you were saying,
Hey,
Russ,
good.
that's the big difference. If you're looking for something, and you were there, Cheryl, you know probably obviously better than us, that draw weight which eluded her
Line's really good.
at the Olympics in Pyeongchang, that's
Really
what
good. You don't have to go.
Marcel Rock has brought to them now.
Great
Yeah,
job.
I think they've just, we've talked about it. They've practiced it. They've just gone out and they've made a point that this is the part of their game that they wanted to improve, and they've improved it. And that's why we said this team's turnkey now. They've got everything. It's all encompassing their entire team.
Look at the 4 finesse shots coming home here that she went around in a fresh path, dead buried in the second end. And she makes a really nice come around with her next one, and a perfect hit and roll here, soft weight, and then the last one just absolutely perfect against 3 in a quick spot. Anything that was going to be deep, she just threw it right to her brooms. Really shows a lot of confidence with the soft shots. Look out.
It's over, curling.
Curling. Hey. That run, miss.
Yeah, I like that run. Gotta be
Could get it thin. And try this.
Okay.
Don't you think too, Cheryl, it can help in other ways? The rest of your team is sure excited about how Skipper's throwing, but you might even play a little more aggressively. You might say, I'm going to take a little chance, try to bury one here. If it doesn't work out, I'm not afraid to draw against 2 or 3. And you can put that much more pressure on your opponent.
Yep. Whoa, 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 whoa. Go, Sarah, go. Go, 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 go.
Oh, bad luck.
No, she said it was going to go in. Top 8? I think so. I like that, I think. Rach, was that just... No, it's not you.
One thing I notice in any of the games we've seen
okay.
Homan this year,
Yeah.
and even specifically this game, is a lot less conversation about the rocks, about the paths, about the brushers are paying attention to the paths. They know what weight has to be thrown. That's a given. They always do, but they're not getting, the rocks aren't getting in their head. The ice doesn't seem to get them rattled at any time I've seen them this year. So I think they just decided to embrace what they have and play on it. And you can sometimes, if you start to focus on that, you talk yourself out of playing well.
Sure.
It's just kind of your fallback, your excuse.
Around the corner with the middle there. You can't even use the middle. No, I don't.
Too tight, it won't go in there.
I don't know if we can get there. Yeah. Or clear the center. No? Well.
Oh, it's super high.
Okay. Okay, so here. It seems nice out here.
Update, Nunavut and Quebec at it.
Well, they looked at this a couple of times to see whether she could pick it out.
Dear me, I go again.
Kind of went off of her foot. She was trying to play the pick out for the blank.
Whoa.
Jennifer Blaney.
Well, they're not giving up on it.
Take it on the inside.
It's out in the weeds.
Sadie.
But you know what? She's got draw weight.
Come on, you two. Get it the hard way. Come on, Sadie, go.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. A little bit more.
Wow, they're awesome.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, there's your single.
I love you, ladies.
Oh, what a good sport. And that's a great example of making the most out of what you have.
Okay, grab that out of my
Kind of like us with you.
Jennifer skipping this team from Ottawa.
Okay, top 8. Close. 4, 5. Here. Make sure we're here. 4. Joe, take it. Over there. 5. Joe. Looks light. Hard. Hard, Joe.
4, 3.
Gotta finish hard.
Yeah, this is really running out there.
4, maybe 5. Hard, as far as it goes. Go, Joe. You got a good one. Nice sweep. Nice weight, Nice throw.
So they got it tucked enough.
Really good weight, just as fast out there. How'd you throw that? Yeah, we knew it. I was just like straight heavy on my hand. Yeah.
Oh, I only threw 1 to the wing. I didn't think that would be
High 14s or
because we went.
it was. Yeah, I think so. I tried to slide really light so I can make sure to add. I really like that.
Maybe, but
Nothing's a nothing to chance.
No.
Everything's dissected. He might think it's overkill, but for the next time, you know. So I know he slid a little. I tried to pull something off, and remarkable.
Yeah, and it's always the same too. So they're comfortable with that amount of information out there.
I love the aggressive nature here all of a sudden, like we just talked about. When Skipper's playing well, they get a little more aggressive. The rock positioning is just superb. Here's a team that's 2 down. They're trying to make a double run.
And we'll only get rid of the one corner.
Gonna rip this? Sure. Whatever you like, Rach. Can we top ours up a bit? Can we bump ours a little? Sure. Just don't want to set up a double. Right. Do you want to call time? That's fine if we do, I guess. Okay.
Remember now, the teams do have 2 90-second timeouts.
Yeah. Probably the same
Slated
way
for
that-
10
yeah.
ends.
Yeah.
38 minutes of thinking time. So you see they are now under 24 as the clock ticks down for Ontario.
I like this call. There's not really a lot that you peel that really helps you. The center guard is really long. So might as well make Northern Ontario's draw tougher by tapping this up.
7, 8.
once it curls.
7. 7. You guys are going the wrong way. Whoa. Okay, never mind. Whoa. That's bad. Sweet.
That's not what they wanted.
No.
Should be able to sneak by that red guard, make that double, and then we're buried.
I don't mind. Close the same way.
You saying gotta go by?
Right there.
Get by the guard pretty tight, though.
Nice throw.
Now you were mentioning about this battle at third, Lily and Miscue. We saw Miscue's at 75. We saw Lily at 67. Now there's that opportunity for Lily to maybe get to on an off day, get to Emma Miscue, as that stone just crawls up the back, and shot stone still belongs to Ontario. Neither third having the best of days.
No, it's true. We talked about this in the wildcard game, though, last night. You rarely see a team go out there and shoot 90% game 1. It's just getting that feel, figuring things out. That ended up in a pretty good spot. It's very usable.
Could guard it. It's just whichever makes the run around.
I'm just worried about Normal not coming up. With the out turn? Yeah. What did Lisa throw? She threw
She drew control right here, and it just came up at the end, and the rock was down here.
Well, I think if you let go,
Like she just came up.
I don't see this falling. Like if you let go just high nose, I think we're gonna be sweeping to get it by.
With Normal?
Yeah. Worst case, Rach, if you hit it just high and we do that.
Yeah, but I just don't want to get in between. That's all.
No. If you straight jam it, this will be shot. We'll be sitting here.
I can see half the yellow though if my shooter rolls.
You can learn so much from this team, can't you? That Rachel throws out the comment, "I'm afraid of this running and high siding and jamming it." Emma said, "Well, we threw one here before." They both went back to that shot they remembered, half an hour ago, and then they thought it out. Now the skipper's got a bit of a visual when she sits in the hack of what this might do.
Keep it there. If it hangs,
I think Emma's probably one of the best I've seen at the third position, paying attention on what she's seen and having the ability to say to her skip, hey, nope, this is good. I see this, or we through here. Makes a big difference.
97%. Outstanding game for both her and McCarville.
Okay.
Exactly what she called. This is exactly what Mistoussaint.
Give a stop for these because we're going to be.
And of course it was Krista McCarville with his outstanding shot.
Well, I didn't really think there was a port because you could get to the two yellows and you knew it was going to curl, but it's got to get by that top red one, top 8. Then hangs around and kicks it past her own at the back to sit 3 and put a pile of heat on Rachel Holman.
And she drew the top of the button for her single. The key shot brought to you by World Financial Group, helping Canadians have better financial futures.
Okay, so I'm going to have to throw like 9.5.
That much?
Oh, yeah. Don't you think?
I don't think we're going to stick around then.
It's going to be a tough hole to go with anything less. I think, like, we got to hit this here to get that double. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Like a 10?
Yeah, we can go with a 10. This, like, hers curled pretty big.
Yeah, I thought she was.
Right?
Yep.
You don't have to make the double.
Okay, whatever you see.
No, not at all. It's you got to getting through the port's not that tough as long as you're not draw weight or something. But then where are you going to roll? You might just roll too far and end up in the open. I think they would really love to roll kind of into this type of area, but it's hard to do that and throw it hard enough to get through the port. The softer you throw this, the more it's going to curl, and that yellow-red port shrinks.
Even if you could roll
right,
over frozen on that yellow on the left there.
Behind the corner, that might be simpler, right?
Or like to roll.
So are you trying to make this double on that stone that is in the back 12 at around 8 o'clock?
Well, they talked about it, but I think they've reverted to a little less weight and try and play the hit and roll over there. Because they don't have a lot of that. I wouldn't want to throw a lot of weight at this.
I heard 9.5, you're rolling out.
Oof.
9?
Ooh.
Yeah, that
No.
has to roll out with that kind of speed.
Jen!
Got to get over first. Make contact.
No one.
Oh, boy. And thankful there was one at the back to get.
Very true.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
Wrong weight choice.
Yeah, and Krista tends to go to the
slide.
down weight shots. I'm kind of surprised she was pretty insistent on wanting to throw the 9.5. You hit what you could see of that with like a 10, 10.5. You're playing a nice, you got a lot of options, a lot of rolls.
Like, I think that'll curl, right? Yeah. Because as I'm curling into it, as long as I go deep, like,
Even if it stops here, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like it can't be here or here.
I think we might be able to freeze to that. Coming this
Do
way.
we need to?
Oh, yeah.
Can we just sit two?
Just got to be
Yeah,
parallel.
well,
It's just
just-
a lot. There's not a lot of space for me to grab the 8 foot there. Whereas we got this whole side.
We can go like that, but
Those lines are a little
we
tough
can't
up
be
there.
here, higher or right back. Okay.
Let's see right here.
What's the ideal? What are we trying for here?
Right back's good.
Right back. Okay.
Sneaky good miss, though, wasn't it? Because Rachel can't remove it.
Feet over here, eh?
Second shot, so you've got to sit 2 here.
Or no? Is back 4 deep enough? It's curling now.
What do you think for speed, Reach? I think the same speed's pretty good. I think so too.
I just have a touch more. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
I like that.
Okay, Reach.
I'll keep it there, yeah. If you go by the guard, you can take it and finish it.
Really smart call. A lot of teams would try to
Not
go
any slower
top
over
button.
here,
That's
right?
what you're trained to do to set up a potential steal. That just might set up a double for 2. So go back towards that back red one and solidify a force.
Close, eh? I think it's back button.
Seven.
It's a little light.
Oh, really laid off the handle and came back for a second touch before releasing.
7, 6.
Gotta go then.
We gotta leave it 5.
What do you think, Joe?
I think you're right. 5. Gotta go. Gotta go for 5.
Gotta get it there, guys.
What do you think, Joe? Weagle and Courtney
Gotta go,
talking
Joe.
it all the way down.
Pull it, Joe.
Hard! Jeez. So bad.
Oh, snakes. Oops.
Yeah. So I want to go 9.5.
Are they accepting a little bit of blame on that, are they?
Yeah.
They are. They thought it was
Same ice.
further. They were saying a 7 at one point.
Yeah, just closer to that 10 weight, and we should be good.
Volley rain
So
out
is it
here
what, about a
today,
third or a
Vic, and
quarter?
there's not a lot of
Yeah, probably
the
closer to a
dehumidification in this building is minimum at best. It could frost up a little
Same thing,
here.
the last one was just for me.
Yeah.
They were really fooled in that one.
Okay, so
And
what
you don't
kind-
see that
want
often
10
with
or
those two.
A little bit of dusting of frost out there.
The last one was like good. The last one was like solid.
You could throw a hack at this and make it.
Yeah.
They're still going to throw this fairly hard.
Yeah. 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard.
Whoa. 9 and
Whoa. Jen.
Final stone. Here we go.
Margin.
Through the hole.
Jen.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh my, and we'll spill out the back. But that one, which really you might think was a bit of a lucky shot. She was attempting to get a stone higher in the house. That's your counter. We'll go to the break. 3-2 Ontario.
The 2019 Scotties Tournament of Hearts is brought to you by Scotties.
And there is a fair bit of melting going on. Temperature +6 at the moment with the light rain. As we're in the 5th end break in this opener of the Scotties here in Sydney. 3-2 Ontario leads it. Time to check the numbers after 5.
Well, you have to look at the seconds and the thirds on both teams are in the 70s, so not great numbers. So where is the number being pushed up on the Ontario team? It's by Rachel Homan at 90%, and it's been the draws she made, the first end, the second end to Forrest, and the fourth end as well.
Numbers after 5 are brought to you by Pioneer Hybrid, serving Canadian farmers for over 70 years. So while we are in the 5th end break, let's go over to Sheet C right next door. This is Alberta against Manitoba after Alberta scored 3 in the 4th to tie it, and they're still playing in the 5th, and Manitoba, skipped by Tracy Fleury out of East St. Paul, has called a timeout. Kathy.
It is Alberta, the red stone at the back that is, or at the front that is shot.
You know what I'm saying?
Or they believe it is. Chelsea Carey has played this end as though she is shot.
Looks like red to me, but I don't know.
You know?
It looks, yeah, it wasn't really that relevant.
You know what?
I'm not sure. It's really close.
I believe it is too. I think red is, actually. So. So if that's the case, what does that mean?
Well, they looked at a couple of things. They looked at running a yellow guard on the side back into the mix. They've also looked at trying to play the double, but it's no walk in the park because there's a corner guard that is blocking that.
Because this one we could give the steal.
I think it might be red. Yeah, I think it's red. But I mean, this one, if we don't make like,
Andrea Ronebeck is out as the coach, and Andrea, well known from Kenora. She has coached Fleury before.
See, it's not an easy name, is
well,
it?
no, because I was putting Fleury and before together. That's why it came out Fleury. She's also coached Sherry Maddaw, also coached Rachel Holman at one time.
I think that's the easiest shot, Russ. The double just jams.
Yeah, if you go red, it definitely jams. Now, whether you could probably kick it out of there and get your single.
But the reward on this shot.
2/3 is what I was thinking.
And there is nothing of that stone which is corner frozen. There's nothing that is showing there, is there, Kathy?
No.
No, and that red stone that is in the top of the 12-foot was the final stone thrown by Chelsea to take that away. And that's what you see, which is virtually nothing.
Selena Negavan checking over her shoulder, getting ready for this, the final stone. They've spent a good 5, nearly 6 minutes thinking about this. They also did take their 90-second timeout. Fife, McCush on the front end. It's all about the line call now to angle this back. Got it, touch it. Oh, goodness, that may be the shot of the event, and we see it here on day one.
Little thinner, and it could have been for 3. That was a beautiful shot.
Wonderful line call by Negavan to put 2 on the board. They'll go to the break. And it is 5-3 Fiddly-dee. Here in Centre 200 in Sydney for this 2019 Scotties Tournament of Hearts, the Canadian Women's Curling Championship. Our feature is Northern Ontario against Ontario as we go to 6. And it is Ontario and the champions from the Ottawa Curling Club with a 3-2 lead, and Rachel Holman does have last call. She has the hammer playing the Yellowstones. Jen Gates.
Your line's not bad. Stay close.
Yep. Good.
Line's good. Yep.
Wait's there.
Room. Line's good. Stay with
Wait's
it.
there.
Always get a kick
Line's great.
when you see some of the resumes because there's only so much talent as around comes Gates. But here we have Gates, who played at Laurie and won a U Sport championship playing with Laura Crocker at the time, who is Laura Walker now, of course. Jeff Walker plays with Brad Gouju's team. Cheryl Kriviezik, who is now the 5th and the alternate for Homan, was also part of that U Sport team.
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And, we talked earlier about the Canada Games being a place where you can gain experience. U Sport. The old CIS, CIAU, whatever name it has this week. That is, that's another up-and-coming area to gain experience.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you see the curlers now, they come out, they don't get into men's or women's and have to play a few years to get used to the pressure and the shots and the single sheets. They've already done it. They come in ready to play now.
You guys like throwing hack? Maybe like it's in the middle the whole way, so.
Just hack.
Slow down.
There's enough room.
Whoa. Yep.
Get a little bit of curl once you get over the center line. You could get behind those two double centers.
Big scrub here. Get by one, get by two. Yes, and now a little flip. Oh, got to sit down, though. And it'll just roll a little too far.
Chris, on your first one, you need more. Oh, it's pretty close to board, eh? Yep. Okay. Make sure we stick. Yep.
Be able to hold it out in this spot.
Solid. No. High side.
Joanne Courtney. Had an idea, but just you can get it over there.
Yeah.
I get the feeling Northern Ontario has to make a really good one somewhere along the line. Almost made the double last end, probably overthrew it. The wrong weight choice, one or the other, and they just haven't put enough pressure other than that one end against Rachel where she responded nicely.
And I think Homan's team on the other side, they feel like they can kind of be patient. They're going to get their opportunities. They don't have to take a lot of risks.
Sarah, they're hard.
They're outplaying the Northern Ontario team so far.
Hard, 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 hard. Hard to stick around.
And we'll roll it the other way.
What was that, Chris?
I got a 10-3.
Okay. 10 what? She got a 10-2. Sam. Okay. Top 8. Gotta be shot. Yeah.
Now they're going to make their move for. They know if they don't make the roll, you know Northern Ontario is probably going around those two center guards. So this is a fact of let's get there first.
It's interesting how this game has developed. Both leads are playing well. It's the middle of the lineups that are struggling so far.
Line's great. It's gonna overcurl.
With Gates and Lilly for Northern Ontario, Courtney and Miscue. Both are, all four are in the 70s. And McCarville's having a good game, decent game at 83. But boy, Homan at 90 and Lisa Weigel elite at 92%. And it's easy to say, Russ, but this is the kind of game where Homan might be ready for the taking, because of that struggles at the in the middle.
Yeah, no question.
Okay.
Puts a lot of pressure on Homan to respond, and so far she has.
Has she ever?
Line's good.
No. We need
Close, Jen.
Yes. We need that rock. Yes. We're through.
Whoa.
Oh, they need the backing.
Sarah, hard. Really hard, Sarah.
need that rock.
Okay.
And they got it.
That works. Good. Sweet.
They're getting you up to date. They're on to the 7th after a blank in 6. Nunavut in Quebec. And playing 6. Nova Scotia with the lead by 1 over BC.
Hey.
You can get at that with the out turn. I would think it'd be a little easier.
Yeah, we saw Northern Ontario's out turn curl pretty good here, over curl.
Very similar tendencies to last night's game with a wee bit more curl towards the crowd.
11. Yeah, 11.
Up to speed in here, right?
Yeah.
Would you ever entertain like a top button here, Cheryl, or do you play the top, sit the 2?
Well, the tap is okay, but everything's going to be behind the tee line.
And there'll be a double.
Yeah, I like your call.
Clean it. 11.
Come top 4.
Whoa.
I know it's around the center, but it's a little bit of an off center.
Yeah.
You're still going to have a draw.
No, it looks
Almost
heavy.
hack.
Just lease.
Gotta go, Lease.
Gotta
Gotta go.
go.
Hard, Lease. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go.
No roll. Just lots of weight.
Same thing.
Can't pop out.
I didn't have a very good release on mine, so
I think,
just carry it the whole way.
I think to your point, Russ, no matter what Homan's team did on Emma's shot, they were always, McCarville, they're going to play this come around, so maybe you get there first.
Exactly. Even if you're a little light, your top 8, it's usable. It stops them from getting in there.
That seems,
With that yellow guard covering the 8-foot on the out turn, is that draw taken away now because of that stone, or is there still room to get in that way?
I think you'd have room. It would be, you'd have to be, the way we've seen it curl on that spot, you'd have to hang on the left side for quite some time. This is definitely the easier
It's definitely the
draw.
fastest spot, and I knew that. This is bad.
Lots of line.
Northern Ontario's Kristen McCarville and her first. Rachel Holman, and the champions from Ottawa do have last rock.
This is 2 feet wider than they wanted it.
And all the way through. And look, we're only in the 6th here, but going back to what you said to start.
Do you guys feel like it's heavy?
Heavy?
Because Kendra keeps saying it's a kick, it's a kick, it's a kick. Do you guys, I'm just asking.
No, we told her 405. That's not a kick.
No, I'm just, because she keeps saying it's a kick, it's a kick. So I'm just wondering what you guys feel.
So for the first half of the game, they were both kicking really slow.
Okay.
So we were saying, it's not the nip again kick where you can fall out of the hack, right?
Yeah.
And so for them, it's a bit of a kick.
Yeah.
But for you, you've had the kick right from the start.
Yeah.
So don't, keep your kick, because, even
Yours
here,
is
when
good.
you were like the back 4s, as long as we're off of them, they'll come up and they'll be top 4.
Yeah.
So, I think the same kicks that you've been kicking. And you'd be like a 4-ish.
Yeah.
I think a hair less, if anything.
You come back to what you're saying about the reps.
Yeah.
And, as Kathy pointed out, you've got a new player for all intents and purposes in Jen Gates, limited experience. So you're trying to find your team against the hottest team in the world right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're betting. Yeah, and the other problem too is, and Cheryl alluded to it, 2 play at one, practice at one, 2 at the other, because they don't play many spiels. Weekend warriors, they have to practice more, and you're getting different informations on different surfaces. So, what's keen to maybe one of the players, it isn't to the other because of the 2 different surfaces they practice on. It's not ideal.
And what Krista was saying there was that Kendra feels like she has to kick hard. So she's hearing that, and she's had draw weight, Krista, but Krista's hearing that and decides she needs to kick harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Same ice?
Yeah, I think close to it, eh? Less weight.
There's a little bit of the door opening, though. A little bit deep, and now you get a chance to throw it down this same path that you just did.
Close to the same line.
Okay. Are you going right to that one?
Yeah, freeze it so they're back 4.
Okay.
Same line, just different kick.
Well, I think they said her kick was fine, did they not? Or is it just
No.
they wanted her to pull something off
Yeah,
it?
they did. She got it in her mind from Kendra that she had to kick a little harder, and she
Okay.
did.
It's better.
Weight's good.
So hoping now she may not have,
Yep.
she won't pull the string here a little bit then.
Yeah, which is the tendency.
Pretty fast path.
No, Jen, not you.
We're there.
Sarah, if you can.
Little bump. Line's not bad. Oh, no bump.
Sarah.
Yeah?
It's a bump.
Whoa, whoa.
It's bumping it.
And down 2, and yeah, bumps it back.
Really good. Good shot.
Nice shot, Krista.
Still, I felt like
kind of saying.
out of my hand, I felt like I was light. And it was all
So
there.
then to you, it's nice.
I think it's so straight too that's catching them. If you were playing the out turn going towards the boards, that kick could probably be barely enough to get there because of the amount of curl has to go a little further.
T-line? Yep. Same line?
A little less.
Okay.
Just can't drive a slow one too, which
Right.
makes it, throws it all out of whack.
If I remember correctly too,
Same weight spin?
one of the advantages that you had if you came from the Fort William through the years was their ice maker was able to replicate, in many cases, this kind of ice. So for her to be caught thinking that she's still coming out
How's your line? Yep.
so fast means that maybe they're not doing that as much at Thunder Bay and the Fort William.
Line's good. Gotta go.
And go they do. Here they go.
Gotta go, Lise, come on.
Courtney, come on, Lise.
Come on, Lise, push. Push, Lise, come on. Hard.
Oh, we're wonderful stuff. Those two, Weagle and Courtney. Saved one for the skipper. 4-2 Ontario. Day of the Scotties, draw 1 from Sydney. 4-2, Ontario leads over Northern Ontario. Krista McCarville will have the last rock. She has the hammer playing the red stones. Center line goes up from Ontario. Team from Thunder Bay plays to the corner. Now around comes Lisa Weigel.
You want to come this way?
Yeah.
Why don't we go the other way?
I don't mind.
So say back 4, back 8, Sarah.
Yeah, I have a hair, like,
This looks.
Do you like that side better?
whatever turn you like. Yeah, it's fully buried.
I actually don't mind this side.
Okay, I thought I had a piece.
So say back 4, back
I just think
8.
the angle will be
back
better.
Yeah, I'm going to take that, it's
Yeah,
fine.
Get one or the other.
Yep.
Back 4, back 8.
Yeah, really good awareness. Open it up a little bit, tick that center line guard over, and that's the way to miss it if you're going to. This is a little bit the straighter side than the in-turn.
Yeah, I thought they'd go the other way.
I did too. I
Yeah.
would have.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yes.
Yes!
Yes. Really hard.
Back 4!
Hard.
Back 8!
Lily
Hard.
Gates.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
No.
Jen,
Go, 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 go!
Oh, look at this.
They just won't
Okay.
quite spill underneath, but spills enough to be second shot.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was coming down, but that would have been.
Well, after all those rocks in play and all that discussion, this is a little bit more wide open as we check in on Alberta and Manitoba.
Well, on her final stone, there was only a corner guard, or rather her first stone. So Chelsea Carey buried it just a little piece open. Tracy Fleury tried a very soft weight shot, but went by the outside and did not make contact with the Alberta stone. So this is a draw to the paint for 2.
Nice, Charles. Yeah. 2 red.
2 it is. They're all even.
Good seat.
I thought that was more weight than that.
That same thing? Run that.
No, I like the same.
I don't.
You want to run it on here, or you like that same thing?
Which one do you like? Kendra?
What do you guys like?
I like either one.
I like moving that.
Okay.
Same weight as Sarah's good?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was back 8 for sure. Did you feel like you had to kick with more?
The run would be a little bit of a danger if you ever roll out. And Rachel sprints up, peels that corner guard, and there goes your end.
Little down.
Yeah.
Back 4.
Okay, go hard. Line's good still. Keep going. Hard.
Back
Hard.
8.
Keep going. Go, go, go. Keep going. Hard. Hard, 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 hard.
Whoa.
Now again, just a little. Can't sneak it by, and now it spins. It is
Good weight, Jen.
a shot rock.
Okay.
And our next stop will be the Tim Hortons Brier in Brandon
Okay.
as the season of champions continues.
Just a hair more weight.
Yeah, like we have to make sure we hit the red.
And we have 15 teams we know. It's a terrific field. Familiar names from Guju to Cooey. McEwen is there from Manitoba. Jacobs, of course, Northern Ontario. We will have the play-in game on the Friday, Epping against Botcher.
Take this hard in. Really wet. Okay.
We'll lose one,
Yeah.
but sitting 2 without last rock here is Ontario.
I'll hit and roll
They
off that one.
kind of called it that way. They didn't want to leave a pocket or a big wall back there, so they were trying to
Better.
spread them apart, which they did.
Like we could hit and roll the other way too.
Yeah, can you see this?
Yeah,
Half?
there's a good chunk
Okay.
of that, 2/3,
Am I not?
Whatever you like.
whichever one.
Like this way?
Either way.
They looked at rolling left, but the problem is Homan's got a short little run. You can see just enough of that yellow. They'd punched it out. So try and roll right behind their own red guard.
Solid 10.
Whoa! Whoa!
Other way.
No,
Yep,
not
yep,
yet.
Jen Gates. And they're right.
Line straight. Freeze it. What was that?
9-2, but
Top 8. Yeah. Top 4. Would you rather
Team
top?
Northern Ontario throws quite a bit of weight on their what I call normal hits. It's not very forgiving with rocks of this lively. You got to protect that scoreboard. You're 2 down. You got to hang around here.
You can only see 2/3 of this. You can only see 2/3 of this rock. So she makes the double, she'll roll out. Yeah, just a really long guard for us to come around again after they double. Okay, we can tap it then.
I think when you don't play in the arena ice as much, you don't get that. It took us a few years to get that confidence to know that you could throw a 10.5 and you could hold it.
Yes. Yes.
I think the same as
Yes.
here. That was fast, eh?
Yeah. You see that with a lot of these teams that don't tour and travel.
And this may, to my mind anyway, is an indication of that. What would you think you might do here? They thought about playing the tap on that stone, which I thought, well, why don't you just draw? They look at things
Looks all there right now. Looks really heavy.
just so differently than, I'll call them a conventional team.
Wide open.
Am I right in that? They look at more things that a conventional team might not even want to attempt.
Yeah, they'll call a tougher shot because the result is a tougher shot for the opposition, and they expect to make them. Whereas other teams are just more thinking, let's just make a shot and see if we get a miss out of it. They're always looking to apply pressure, which can sometimes lead to their shots being really tough.
They always knew, though, Russ, that this is the potential here. By going where they did, that this double is going to be there.
Yeah, but they also feel that to make the double, because where the guard is, they're going to roll out. So that doesn't hurt them either. So, no, really well thought out. No question about it.
Back 8? Yeah, that looks. Okay, 14-5. Okay, let's make this one.
Dropping in on Nova Scotia and British Columbia after Nova Scotia got 1 and 6 to lead 4-2. Sarah Wark, Winnipeg born, but now makes her home in Chilliwack.
And is in quite a bit of trouble. Faces 4. The momentum in this game has shifted dramatically, with BC putting a lot of pressure on Nova Scotia early, but it is all Nova Scotia. Sarah tried to freeze on her first one, went through, and now needs to find the forefoot.
And it's a draw against 4. One there, those 2 back there.
Very nice.
And that'll work for the single. Sorry. Hey,
oh my God.
Get it in. Get it in now. Just, yeah, now it's done. It's out. It's finished.
You stayed awake all night thinking that one.
Work.
Wow.
Well, rolls off, eh? Let's hit it really thin.
Yeah, I think I like this.
I like this too. Okay. Back weight.
It comes
Soft
back.
weight out turn tap or the normal weight thin angle raise. They're worried if they play the angle raise, the yellow will disappear. So this is probably the easier of the 2 shots. They just watched it too.
11 up! 11!
Emma miscue.
11 up! Whoa! Pulling. Just Lisa. Gotta go, Lisa. Hard. Cross center, Lisa. Hard. All the way. Gotta go all the way. Alright, Joe. Go. Really gotta go to get 3 here. Good.
Just the perfect weight to make the shot. Just enough.
Wow. I think they're turning there, so I thought I'd see a bit more curl, but it fell off the line.
Just wait,
I'm glad I didn't overthrow that. I would have blown by no problem.
Yeah.
It didn't
Well,
move
but then there goes to our point that we were talking about earlier about watching another team. You know, she says, if I was to believe what their stones were doing, then I may have missed my shot. So she believes that they, Northern Ontario, are getting their start of it.
Well, and they probably just tend to throw that way because they play on club surfaces a little bit more than arena.
Whoa, no.
But really good awareness by Emma, kind of not to read off that.
Line good, where are we?
Hard!
Kendra Lilly.
Hard, keep going.
Hard line!
Go. We're not, whoa.
Nice throw.
Boy, great to get it by that stone top of the 8. And
Well, we were wrong anyway.
absolutely sucks it into back edge of the 4.
I couldn't hear what you were saying at all. So.
Sorry, we thought we were 2 at.
Look at how this suddenly goes here.
Yeah, so to Emma's point, she thinks that the Northern Ontario team maybe gets their stones moving a little bit, helps them a bit. I think it's really hard, Russ. Like I remember watching other teams throw, and it's hard to get it out of your mind that you see a rock curl 4 feet, that you don't take as much ice. Like you don't want to take 3 feet of ice and go, hey, you know, I think they're helping theirs. It's really hard to kind of get that out of your mind when you put the broom down for your own team.
No question about it. I think Team Holman beats a lot of teams that haven't played them before. Once you're a Jen Jones, played her 100 times, you're used to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
What a great shot by Kendra.
6, 7.
It's sunk too.
Is it ever? Like overburied.
No line.
Oh, no.
Now can you, with a little bit of a pop release, can you get as much curl as Kendra did?
7, 8. Can't be deep. 7, 8. Oh, to it. Stick close, please.
Oh,
no.
Coming.
Where you go, Courtney?
Let's stop.
Just patient.
Nice
So patient. Never laid a lick to it. They knew it.
Really nice reach. Nice judge. Great weight. Really good.
She has made some unbelievable draws this game.
Gotta sweep it there. Gotta watch it.
Like to get her deuce, to force.
It's one of the best games I've ever seen her play because it's all tough finesse shots. Game one when you're not quite familiar with the surface. Really good.
Let's stop. Nice shot.
Well, I tell you what, that curl bodes well if they can keep that up.
Oh, that's great curl.
Really nice.
No, I think if she makes this shot, because it'll have to be fairly high, you could play off the 2. Yeah. Okay. You can see more than half.
So already thinking about maybe angling a yellow back if this is
All there right now.
if this is to the corner.
Yeah, can. Back 12. Lots.
It's wider too.
Grind and sit.
And heavy.
Like almost through the house.
Gates, Potts, just watching this one go.
That's that 85 split there.
Do you want it?
She's still being.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought she might talk about the kick again. It's just like she's not comfortable.
Debatable.
No, and she had it early, and then she's now just kicking out way too hard. She can't feel it either, which is really disconcerting as a skip if you can't feel that you're kicking out that hard.
One more on the corner.
Yeah, why not? Or even a little short here.
Kind of in between though. What are you thinking? Do you want to just straight guard? I don't mind sitting too.
I think I like this.
Okay.
As long as we curl up, we do double.
It's a really good opportunity to steal.
Well, just having just seen the kind of stone that McCarville threw.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You want her to
You
throw
want to
another
draw,
one.
don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, no question. Plus, the little bit of dangers here is mitigated because of the way Rachel's playing. There's a really good chance she'll be tight enough to the guard that there won't be a double and won't be heavy.
Less reach.
A bit more room.
4, 5. Go ahead then. 4. Line's great.
Line's really good.
4. Close. Bite the 4 foot. 5. Bite the 4 foot. Yep. Can't hurt it. Hard.
Weagle and Courtney put to work on this.
Okay, that's good.
Funny. She said, "Do you want to guard this?" And Emma said, "No, let's come in." And now the skipper had other ideas, as if I know what I'm going to throw here.
Well, she knows how to miss.
That's a great miss, isn't it?
Yes. You can't miss deep. You give her a free one, some backing, so it's the right way to go.
Mine, where I threw kind of around the guard, it glid nicer than yours did, though. Like
Yeah,
when you
but they were
threw,
calling
is
like 8, 9, and then we had to pound it to get it full 4.
And you're pushing Chris to do a new path. That's probably the biggest thing. Now she's got to guess again, and it's a skip that isn't feeling really confident in draw weight right now.
Line's good.
Needs a good piece of the 4.
Weight's close. T-line.
12 you can. 12
Line
you
will be
can.
good.
No, line's good.
Cut it away.
Yeah. Line's great.
Stay close.
close, stay close.
Stay close and sit down. Wonderful.
Good shot, Krista.
What an adjustment by Krista McCarville. Stays within one. Rachel Holman and the team from Ottawa. With Last Rock, they have the hammer playing the Yellowstones here in 8 and up by 1 in this opening draw as we feature all the teams from Pool A. As you take a look at the numbers for the two leads, Lisa Weigel and Sarah Potts, both with good numbers.
Go really high?
The only thing is it's kind of halfway. It is halfway? Yeah, like look.
Oh, well then maybe we should go around it.
He goes like, do we have enough room to go long?
Yeah, if we're really high.
Okay. Okay.
These are a little tricky because you leave an easy double to open it up. If you're too tight, you got to throw a 1, which is just over the hog line.
Okay, line's good.
Yeah, they've hogged one here already, haven't they?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to curl a little. You're gonna have to curl, no. Line should be fine. Line's good.
Whoa. Over and off. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa.
Go a little, Kendra. Yeah, yeah.
Nice
yeah.
shot.
Good shot, Jen.
Good. Nice. Nice shot, Jen.
Wow, they're perfectly lined up.
throw, Jen. Guys.
Numbers for the
Pretty nice.
seconds: Jen Gates, Joanne Courtney. And again, you know, you get a sense that again, not the best game for Gates, but expect more from Courtney at 71%.
Yeah, those numbers are a little surprising.
Good, Joe.
What is somebody may be looking at this and going as their front end did, as Gates said, why are we not going around? Why are they not going around?
On this one, they're trying to set up late. If you go around too early, then Rachel runs it back and opens everything up and you lose it. But if you can set a couple lined up guards like she did on that first one, then Rachel can only peel the one and you're just delaying playing anything into the rings.
And again, because Ontario does have last rock. Yeah, a little bit more, a little over curl.
It gives the angle for.
Or hit the good one. Yeah, one or the other.
Straight through. Yep.
The long one's not too big a concern, is it?
No, it's in it over curled.
Yep, hard. Hard. Gotta go hard. Hard, Em. Right to it. Well, keep going, keep going.
That works.
Ontario sitting the 1 now, covered as it sits back of the 12.
This is all to try to force on Krista. She's trying to force home into 1 here, and you might get a chance to get a couple back next end. But with that yellow home and stone hanging around in the rings, be a chance to force him to 2 if things don't work out.
Okay, line's good. Stay close.
And it was that first where Kendra Lilly flashed a stone that led to Ontario opening with the 2. We've traded singles since then, and that's the difference in the game. That flash stone.
Yep. Say 2. Don't do too much. Yep. Yep.
Yikes. Any thinner, that hits the corner thicker and ends up in the 4-foot somewhere.
So again, look at the numbers here. You talked about this battle for Lilly for Northern Ontario, Miss Q for Rachel Holman's team. Both of them are at 73%. So the middle of the lineup for this Holman team struggling.
I think that's why the score's as close as it is. Really, it's Rachel's out-curled her opponent, Krista McCarville, but the Kendra's hung right in there at the 3rd position. But I don't think either third would be happy with those numbers.
No.
Line's really good.
Gotta go
Hard.
Top
Line's
12.
really good. Go. Hard. You gotta bury it. Go.
Keep it alive to get it buried.
Gotta bury.
You gotta go. Okay, good.
Jesus.
Slowing down.
Well, that's the other thing that, you know, this is first game, so you don't know what it's going to be like when it gets closer to the end. Does the slide path get a little flat? All those things that you actually take away from this game for the next games, too.
Just hack. Clean. Yep. Reach good. Yep. Just hack. Really hard.
Courtney.
Hard.
Closest to the stone, Weagle out in front. Get it by their guard. They did.
That was rough.
Oh, great
Wasn't
rush.
sure if I should call off.
Now, Joanne Courtney, of course,
Sweet Joe.
is expecting her first child, that in July. Rachel Holman in June. Rachel Courtney's already knows that she's going to be having a boy.
They have a 6-man team out there.
think I can believe this is just your 5.
Yeah, the 5 is definitely straight.
I think you could have thrown it like your other ones.
You said that, and I thought back to all of my shots, and every single one of my second rocks is hung out wide.
Yeah.
That's the way to pick it up, isn't it? Great awareness. Nice little chance here. That got by the guard so tight, it's almost staggered. That yellow raise will not be easy.
Tap. Do you guys want to call this?
Wow, look at all the yellows there. And then there's that one red at the back edge of the 4. That belongs to BC. Final stone coming up for Nova Scotia. And Halifax's Jill Brothers.
Well, and all those yellow ones don't matter, Vic, because that red one is the one that is shot. And on her first one, Jill ticked the front and rolled. That kind of blocks the path, and that is why she is not shot. Playing to tap one of her own up to the 4-foot for the single.
Erin Carmody, the familiar name from PEI, now makes her home in Halifax, holding the brush. Remember, Erin was playing with Kathy O'Rourke back in 2010. And they went all the way to the final in Sault Ste. Marie before losing to Jennifer Jones. And look at that. How nice is that to get her single?
One yellow, yeah. I threw it hard, eh? I needed it, yeah.
That was perfect.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I threw it kind of hard.
It's 14 each.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
But that's why you had to throw it in that spot.
It's not getting any quicker.
Krista figured out the right kick for this shot. Beauty.
I think you could get to nose and miss it with like
Nose, I still get it. I like that ice. I think we've seen it a bunch. Right on the edge of the button. It'll come up.
Kind of wait.
Hack. Hack.
Ems was a hair quiet, hey?
Yeah. Yeah. You caught it out of her hand, but
Yeah.
you still have to speed here.
Yeah.
So, hack weight.
Get in 3/4 of it?
Yeah, what I can see, even though
It's been a wide open game, that one between Nunavut and Quebec. Rachel Holman her first.
Really close. Both.
One more time for Courtney and Weagle.
She makes it just look so easy.
Yeah.
The right weight, didn't overthrow it.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've seen her weight control this spot on ever.
No.
Just fantastic for her.
And it's reflected in the numbers as she's out curling Krista McCarville. Player numbers brought to you by New Holland. Hashtag Together Blue.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I just feel like this, we've seen it.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Well, I was thinking if
There, sure,
We
good.
got lots of room to work with. And
Yeah.
I just think that
Got to get it buried. Even if you're back here somewhere, you have to get it buried. But ideally, maybe a little bit higher.
This will move.
You think the same as I just threw, or a little more?
a little more than you just threw just
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And then probably a couple feet more than you've been throwing because we haven't really thrown. I
Yeah.
think she just throw a couple feet more here.
Couple feet more, yeah.
And I mean,
just because the big curl.
we're back 8.
Back 8's okay.
Like, not bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just has a little more distance. This is where the curl is, and she just threw the in-turn, which is a little bit straighter, so it'll be faster. So you got to give it a little bit extra.
That's a good guess. Couple feet, isn't it?
Should be close.
Got to bury it.
Line only right now. Stay close. Back 8 for sure. Back 12.
Stay close.
Yes.
Carville,
Hard.
as we watch as well, Alberta and Manitoba. And Shot Rock belongs to Alberta, sitting back edge of the 8.
And final stone by Chelsea Carey, a great hit and roll under. That is the stone that Tracy Fleury is going to try to play a bumper weight shot at and tap it back for the 2.
Oh, wow. And that draw just stops back for McCarville, as you can hear the sound of the moose around the center 200. Picked up right away. Fife, McCush, Negavan calling line.
Liz! Hard, Liz! Go!
We're going to sit down now. Going to give this point away, and they do.
Oh, that's strange. They swept it halfway down.
Yeah, it didn't get close to the guard, did
No.
it?
I think she may have thrown a little bit more weight than she wanted to.
What a shot by Krista McCarville. Like, that's game, set, and match. And stuck it in the perfect spot.
Yeah. Like heavy's not. Yeah. It's just going to come down perfectly. Yeah. Extra, but I think you can.
Line's good. I think it's a little light.
Go ahead then.
Line's good.
Courtney and Weagle. All the way.
Hard, you got it.
Big carry.
Perfect, Joe. Push.
Miscue out 2. They're going to save another one. No, they cannot. And that last rock draw, McCarville to the back of the 4.
Yeah.
Steal 1, and we're all tied. During the break, we were saying it doesn't feel like a 4-4 tie, but here we are. That steal of 1 by Northern Ontario. Great draw by Krista McCarville. to the back 4. And this could be a game changer here in a game where she has struggled. She's just playing 77% compared to Holman's 86.
Well, she made a great one on her first one down a straight spot. This is a lot more swing, and they talked about, do we need a couple feet more? Do we need 4 feet more? Adds a little extra perfect and gets it back and buried. Forces Rachel to a tough draw.
And for one of the few times, Weigel and Courtney on the front end on the brush couldn't save her. And she came up light.
He wanted to hang around there.
We're over. How's line? Line's good. It's gonna have to sit. Gotta sit. Gotta sit. Sit. Good shot, Jen.
Ontario's definitely been the better team. But you can see Northern Ontario, all these guards are getting in the right spots now. They're just getting over the hog line. They're kind of getting their sea legs as far as the soft shots go.
Good shot. 3/4? Just the top. Just the top?
Well, I think the big edge has really been at
Just the
skip.
top range?
You know, the leads have been pretty close. The middle two have been actually fairly close in numbers. Just Krista and Rachel. And then Krista comes up with a big one and puts a little pressure on. That's really what it's all about.
It's so hard. Good job. No, same throw. We swept that bit. I don't mind one more. I think yeah.
Same thing as last end. It's all about forcing. They're just trying to do this. You might get a mistake at the end and get a steal out of it, as they did. A little better guard position this time. That their number 3 guard's a little tighter, so they can just get this over the hog line. Some separation.
Whoa, easy guys. Unless it's not over. Okay, go.
Returns to Sudbury after spending time in Alberta with Kelsey Rock. Yeah, that one won't get there.
Just trying to make them so perfect.
That's trouble because you sure don't want a blank here if you're Northern Ontario.
What's your thought on that, Cheryl? Just for those who are, the club player. Would you rather have the stone over anywhere?
We can try one.
And I think if something like,
Wanna go one more?
you don't want to go too deep because the stone's not usable. So you want to leave it in front of the tee line. Same thing here. Just get it. If you're not going to throw the perfect guard, at least get the stone over.
Yeah, and it's kind of what I said is you try to make it so perfect you just want it over the hog line and you end up coming up light and you don't even have a shot. So now you're not forcing the opposition to really make anything difficult. If you get it over, at least they have to make the double peel and they could miss it.
Hard.
But at this level, everybody wants to be perfect.
Go. Keep going on it. Keep going. Go. Okay.
You heard that, Russ?
Our thought was just
Always trying to be perfect, okay?
That's right.
Yes, well.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the middle.
Some of us, it's just too late.
Yeah, that's right.
I know you try, Vic. I know.
And there's the difference. If you get it over, now they're playing another stone, but they just have the one guard to deal with.
Did you ever go around this one, Cheryl?
What if we try to nose it?
Blank's not an option. Not with Lisa Weigel making 2 tick shots in the 10th end.
Roll.
Yeah. Try to roll
nose?
the center.
You like this? We're not going to suggest it again, so yeah.
I'm a little surprised at this call.
Hey, I thought that was good.
Whoa.
Did you hear Sarah Potts?
Whoa, no.
Jen,
go.
What do we always say?
Go hard.
Front end,
Okay.
you make your suggestion to your skip. No, shook it off. Maybe one. Nope. All right, I'm not going to suggest it again.
Nope.
Decision's been made. Let's just play.
No. Skip's made her decision.
Really.
We've got a lot of time, though. I may have talked a little bit longer about that one. I know you got to pick your spots sometimes.
I think we can sweep this.
You're not through, right? You can't be a guard.
5. We're here, guys. Where? 5? Well, that's fine.
4.
4
5.
good.
I was saying to Joanne
Just don't want to be a guard.
before the game, just asking if because we've seen other players who are expecting, and she says, no, I've talked to my doctor. Doctor knows, doesn't believe anything
Felt like I was maybe not.
would hurt. She says there may be a time this week when she might need some time off, but she's taking it game by game. And I said to her, do you think,
It had good rotation.
have you thought about what you're going to tell your son years from now, that your son was at the Scotties in Sydney, and you said Christy Moore, who you had in Vancouver, was expecting then too.
Yes, she was, and so that's what she's
No, Sarah, no.
told her son is that, hey, you were at the Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver. It's pretty cool.
Just fell the whole way out.
Doesn't curl this straight.
6 first.
Same weight as last round, I think is good.
Yeah. Here, H.
More ice than ours or same?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need some space to roll out. You gotta go past that red.
Deeper? Okay,
Yeah.
so T-line?
At least 3 feet.
Okay, yeah. Up to speed here still.
Yeah, that same speed that
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
It's okay. Just an extra foot.
I like that.
Could entertain getting this way back there, make the hit and roll a little bit easier, but for these rocks and Rachel's upweight ability, I don't think that's a real problem because you might see a freeze.
Just a 6-7.
Yeah, gotta go. Hardly straight back all the way.
Just go back a few shots, and I know you're at risk of giving up a couple, but that come around to try to come around that yellow instead of hitting it, and then they rolled out.
Yeah.
And maybe she's comfortable saying, you know what, we'll go the extra end. We'll go the extra end, try and steal. We feel like we can.
She does knows it.
Because they're not even going to play the freeze. Or sorry, the 10th then, not the extra.
Okay, same kind of thing.
Okay. Little my way?
Roll, no, Jen's way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not impossible to steal, but the way Holman's drawing, you've got Emma playing better the second half, and then you've got Lisa Weigel trying 2 ticks. She makes both of those. It could be a
9.5.
9.5.
Less, yep.
pretty simple score.
Yep. Hard.
So what would you rather be, down 2 with the hammer in 10,
Oh, Sarah's your way.
or tied without
Sarah.
in the 5 rock?
That's close. I think in the 5 rock you might lean towards 2 down, but neither one are great.
Play a
Well,
little
and there's
chicken
been
there.
if you looked at a game that maybe there's been 3s posted up on the board, there hasn't been.
No.
Just keep it there.
Building is alive, of course, with Nova Scotia on the ice. Gill Brothers against British Columbia. We'll keep you updated as they play in the 9th. Final stone and looking for the blank.
Easy, easy.
Yep, hammered it. Yep.
Okay, you're good. Clean.
And that will work for Holman to pick up the blank. So we will go to 10. All tied, and Ontario will have the last rock coming home. So let's go over and see what that noise and the cheering was about. As you see the yellow stones, they belong to Nova Scotia. Shot rock is covered. Final stone, the hammer though, belongs to British Columbia and the team from Abbotsford.
Well, the roar that you heard was for Gill Brothers, who made a tap on her final stone to shot stone, but you can see that there is an opportunity for a double for 5 for BC.
Sarah Work.
Whoa. let go if you can a little bit.
Bang, bang. Oh, just and missed running it back. And so that will result in a steal of 1 for Nova Scotia and Brothers.
When French vanilla sport.
Playing here in the 10th of a 4-4 tie on this opening day. The Scotties and Lisa Weigel played one tick, plays another one just to open up that center line. Just 2 perfect shots from the Ontario lead, Lisa Weigel.
That's the problem, is maybe against other teams you got a really good chance of stealing the 10th, but not with Lisa.
Close to Sarah second.
Okay, okay. Like halfway-ish? Yeah, halfway's fine.
Jen Gates.
Okay, wall line.
You get this in a good spot and it gets tougher to peel because there's the tick's great and it's perfect. You want to open it up, but it does leave corners around and things that you can jam on when you try to play the peel on the center.
Yep. Hard.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
It's not easy to kick this out either way, is it?
Whoopee. About a third. Third? Okay. Half is probably just stuffs it. Okay. Okay, this is a straight side here. Need a third. Okay.
2 of the contenders, at least we think so. Manitoba and Alberta. Final stone on the way for Chelsea Carey, Glencoe, Calgary.
Well, she was lying 2 after her third shot, but now faces 3. Does need the nose for the single.
And sits right there. So they are all even at 6. And it is Manitoba and Tracy Fleury that does have the last rock coming home.
Same spot. Same spot. Same spot.
Yeah. Well, a little deeper.
Little deeper. Same weight's good.
There.
Really
Hard. Hard.
Whoa.
Gotta get it over.
Should be over.
Hard, guys. Go, 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 go. Hard, hard, Sarah, hard. We're over. Okay. Sweeping.
Just.
Okay, straight through. This will come up a hair. This will come up a hair. Yeah, barely. So one guard.
Yeah, really gotta go in. Hard. Hard. All the way. Hard. Right to it. Hard. Gotta go.
Really gotta go.
Okay, good. I didn't want to clip them in.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they had to think there. That red corner, as you said, just touch it and they would be clipped in. As Northern Ontario is already sitting that 1, which is edge of the 12 at about 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I like that.
So now I think they just sit 2. Try and come around this yellow on the left.
Line's good.
Gotta go a little.
Go hard. It's coming across center. Go hard.
Should be able to get it buried here. There's no lack of curl.
Gotta go. Hard line. You gotta go.
It's going.
Really hard. 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 Full lead at least.
As we go over and check in on this game as Lily comes around, Nunavut and Quebec in a game that is 3-3. We've had blanks in 6, 7, 8, 9, as if Quebec was playing for this moment. Final stone on the way for Gabrielle Lavoie.
And I think that maybe nerves kicked in this end. Not a lot made by Quebec. Nunavut was trying to go top 12 on their final stone so that it would force the draw.
Whoa.
But she came in deep. A nose hit will give her the win.
Watch out now, watch out now, watch out now. This catcher, and she will not. And Nunavut will pick up the win, and this is their first ever win at the Scotties. Remember now, prior to last year, there was the play-in of tournament before to get into the field. Last year was the first of the pool play. They did not win any games last year, but today they win their very first, a stolen win over Quebec. 4-3 is your final.
That's awesome for them.
Is it ever?
We did it. We did it. Whoa. Good sweep. And you got it.
That's well, hopefully you can hear that at home. That's the sound of the moose. Sickly kind of moose it is a little bit, but sound of the moose nonetheless. And a miscue. Wow, there you go.
Just make it look so easy.
And no better time for Emma, who's brought her game back a little bit now at 79%.
Well, that mine was a 14-6 pounder top 4,
So I think you can err on that as long as we're not in that like really
Still a chance here, though, if you could sneak by that guard tight, move that a foot or two.
like you went back 8.
Tough shot.
There's enough curl here, though, Russ.
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
with you. Like it's the guard's just long enough.
A little bit more than she's been throwing. Yeah.
Ideally,
back
get it behind the
8.
tee line, but back 8 sounds like a lot because I think you're going to roll open with back 8.
A little sit here.
Yeah.
Slower in
You can see
here,
that,
yeah.
Just the comment about getting a
You can
hair
feel
slower.
most of those back 12 weights here
Okay.
that you're picking out with.
You don't have to be shot rock here yet.
Weights good.
Back 12.
Yep.
A little up.
Yep. Whoa.
Lots of weight.
Whoa. Whoa.
A little hot, and
No.
Close.
Lots of
you
weight.
can hear
Sarah.
Kendra Lilly
Hard, Sarah. Hard.
out the line now as Potts picks her up.
Sarah.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Stay with it. Now, where can they tap this? And
That's good.
they'll tap it back 8. Shot rock, though, just that little turn towards the center line exposes it a little bit more. Well, you know, you go back to that first end. We've only seen singles since, but that was the miss by Lilly. And Holman takes advantage. Then, of course, McCarville with that wonderful draw resulted in the steal in 8. So here we are, 4-4. Rachel Holman, as you might expect, at 88%. The game story brought to you by Tim Hortons, the official coffee of Curling Canada.
How much weight?
Job well done, though, by Krista, because even if this is made, even if it's on the nose, you still have something to freeze to with maybe the out turn.
Don't you have to be a little careful, too, Russ? There is that jam possibility if you catch it the wrong way.
No question. Getting to the nose would be a wee bit risky for each. It would be the best outcome, but it'd be a bit risky for Rachel, too. You ever fracture on the guard.
Yeah. Time out.
Timeout being called now.
Just wondering about this run here. Trying to get everything. If we crash
Yeah.
our guard, we're in big
Time out.
trouble. Yeah.
Funny.
There you go. If you crash in the guard, we're in big trouble.
Wanted
Well,
to look
but
at the run.
Okay.
does this go back to what she likes to
Yeah,
play the most, too, is that kind of shot, right?
And even if
Can't
it's
quite
You can
see
take-
all of it.
okay. So you can because even half will go, and then just to make a cold draw.
I was just looking at this to rip it all out and open.
So if you miss it, she's guarding there and you're going to have a tougher shot. If you move that at all behind the tee line,
Yeah.
the best she's got is come around that. You've got
More of the
3/4
four
of the 4.
Okay, so solid hack. Because if we
Right?
flip the 3, we
Yeah.
want it to go.
I like that. I think it should be gradual with that lighter weight. Gradual, yeah. Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, I think it's a hair slower.
you got
This
your
middle
intern
stuff.
to
Yeah,
do
I
last.
think so. I think we need minimum ice. Yeah.
Well thought out. If they fracture on the guard, then Northern Ontario will probably guard, and you've got a really tough draw with no backing. Even if you punch this back and everything goes wrong and you get it over here somewhere into there, the best McCarville can do is something like that, and then you've got quite a bit of room to, as the coach said, pull 4 to win. I think their odds are a little better playing this shot.
Huck.
Easy, easy.
Weight's good. Whoa.
Tons of room. Joe.
Weight's good. Joe, go.
Joe.
Courtney Weigel. Courtney now trying to help it over.
Easy, just clean. Just clean. One hit on the nose. Great
Wow,
shot.
they get to almost the nose.
Well, it's just a great shot because it's in the way now of anything that McCarville does. It's usable for Holman.
Maintained.
Just as good.
I thought
Or
She
more
could
like
slash it in, she could run it back.
That way she has.
Well, if we go here, I mean, that sets up the jam. She'd have to, you know, sorry.
Timeout been called.
You know what you're
Just
guessing
above
at it
tee or-
anyway, right? I think
Oh,
there's
yeah.
2 shots. There's
Freeze.
top 4 beside it. Right?
Yeah.
There's coming to the back one if it
But then
hangs
she
on
doesn't
us.
touch
And,
it like this
and there's
much.
back 4 here, which is going to give her a tough shot too.
Well, she'd have to tap her.
She said
this
it
much.
hooks so much.
Right.
You know, you need shot rock, obviously,
Yeah.
but to be real precise, you got to come by that guard by 6
So what do you guys
inches at
think,
least,
like,
right?
because I'm going pretty far, like, what do you guys think for weight?
I know that's the problem. We're
I
definitely.
know, that's what I was thinking.
I feel like we haven't thrown out that. Like I've thrown middle of the 12, but if we're going
No, we're going,
significantly
yeah.
wider,
Well, if we're a little heavy, we freeze to the back one.
We got to call it early then, right?
The middle of the 12 is not going to do it for you.
Like
so-
the last,
No.
But if we're out to
I
the
think you
edge,
Are we going to do a good ice out on the edges?
well, that's
what
what
we're
I'm
doing.
asking. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I'm going to go here.
I would. My guess would be a little less than 250.
I guess you're going
You
to
got
go
to throw
heavier
that.
out there, though, or faster?
It's not going to be faster. It's going to cross.
Faster out wider.
So we drop in on this game between Alberta and Manitoba as Alberta is covered. One, that's the stone tee line in the 12. So 8 foot is what is needed for and by Tracy Fleury, Kathy, for the win.
It is, and for Tracy, just threw a draw. She tried to corner freeze onto that Chelsea Carey stone on her first. She was beside it and shot stone. Chelsea hit and rolled out of the house, so it is essentially the same shot. She's thrown a draw on her previous. Bite of the 8 foot.
So bite the white for the win.
Hard, guys. You gotta go all the way, all the way.
Wow, Fife, McCush. Oh, goodness. Here comes Nigovan as well. And they are going to get caught. She comes up light. A mistake you just wouldn't expect from Tracy Fleury. And so it will be the steal of 1 and the steal of the win for Alberta. 7-6 is your final. What was the decision in our game now?
Just to play that straight come around and get it half buried in the side of the 4 foot.
All right, over to BC and Nova Scotia now with 1, 2, 3 reds. And they all belong to British Columbia.
It has been a crazy end. BC doing a great job of utilizing the corner guard on her final stone. Jill Brothers was trying to play a corner freeze into that pile, was heavy, and went through the house. This is a draw to the paint for the win.
Goodness.
Line's good. Stay close, Sarah. Close, Sarah. Yep, Sarah.
As we also watch McCarville. Where did this come from? Oh my. BC puts 4 on the board. 7-6 the final there. And throws it through heavy. And no need for the last rock as the Shakes and Ontario picks up 2 for the win. Make the final. Ontario and Holman 6-4 over Northern Ontario and McCarville, as it's been a busy final few moments here in Sydney.
The 2019 Scotties Tournament
It's a big moment for Nunavut and the team from Iqaluit, skipped by Jennifer Blaney. They win their first ever game at the Scotties.
There's nothing like getting your jersey and opening it up and seeing the maple leaf on the back with your name above it. It's just this unbelievable feeling, and hopefully we can represent it with a lot of pride and make a few shots along the way.
It's something that you strive for, again, from being little to wear green and represent Saskatchewan. They are so supportive. We're proud and honored to be wearing the Green Jackets.
And that's our feature this evening when we join you 6:30 Eastern Time. Our attention will be on the Pool B teams. Saskatchewan and Robin Silvernagel from North Battleford had lost the last two Saskatchewan finals. Finally gets through with a win over the Smile from the Lisle, Sherry Anderson. Now she'll go against Team Canada and Jennifer Jones. On this opening day, first day coverage of the Scotties Tournament of Hearts from Sydney, and all of it here on Canada's sports leader, TSN.